I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. These MAGA Republicans are just so predictable with their tactics. It's like they only have one move. All right, let's use the House Judiciary and House Oversight Committee to try to interfere with ongoing criminal investigations. In other words, let's try to weaponize the House of Representative committees in order to undermine the administration of justice so that we can stroke Donald Trump's ego. It's over and over and over again. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg was criminally investigating Donald Trump and then brought charges against Donald Trump. Jim Jordan, James Comer, they sent letters, they sent subpoenas to try to interfere with the Manhattan District Attorney's ability to conduct criminal investigations and prosecutions. With special counsel Jack Smith and Merrick Garland, you've got Jim Jordan and you've got James Comer acting like the obstruction of justice department for Donald Trump, trying to use the powers of the committee to interfere and block and tamper with the criminal investigations by the Department of Justice of insurrectionists, by special counsel Jack Smith of Donald Trump, and the pattern repeats and repeats. So clearly, when MAGA Republicans have been waiting for the day where Hunter Biden would be charged, and Hunter Biden agreed on Tuesday to plead guilty to two tax-related misdemeanor crimes and to stipulate to a set of facts as part of a diversionary program for a gun-related charge. The MAGA Republicans were outraged. They were outraged. They were saying this is a sweetheart deal by Biden's Department of Justice. But here's the thing, and we've talked about this before over and over again. I'm going to show you what their recent conduct is, though, here. But David Weiss, the United States attorney who was investigating Hunter Biden, David Weiss was appointed by Donald Trump. Just so y'all know the way like the United States attorneys work. There are United States attorneys for the different federal district courts. So you'll have, if this was New York, you'd have a United States attorney for the Southern District of New York, a United States attorney for the Eastern District of New York, a United States attorney for the Northern District of New York, or if it was California, a United States attorney for the Southern District of California, the Central District of California, the Eastern District, the Northern District. Some states only have one kind of district, so you'll just have one United States attorney for that district. But it's the main federal prosecutor in that state is the United States attorney. And normally what happens in almost all circumstances when a new president takes office, they fire all the other United States attorneys and they appoint their own United States attorneys. But here, with respect to David Weiss, who was appointed by Donald Trump, who was the United States attorney in Delaware, President Biden said, look, David Weiss initiated a criminal investigation of Hunter Biden back in 2018. And while President Biden was well within his rights to fire David Weiss and appoint somebody who he wanted to be the United States attorney, who would have inherited the Hunter Biden criminal investigation, what did President Biden do? President Biden left Donald Trump's prosecutor in place, left the Republican prosecutor in place. Not only that, but Merrick Garland made clear to grant David Weiss the ultimate authority over the investigation, including responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges. How do we know that? Well, we have a letter from the Republican United States Attorney David Weiss, who sent a letter to Jim Jordan a few weeks back telling Jim Jordan this. But does Jim Jordan and James Comer care? No. James Comer told reporters that he will consult with Jim Jordan on the next steps about investigating David Weiss. They want to now investigate David Weiss, the Republican United States attorney appointed by Donald Trump because David Weiss led the Hunter Biden probe, and I guess David Weiss was not focused on all the things that make these MAGA Republicans obsessed, like the fact that Hunter Biden was engaged in consensual sex, and they have photographs of Hunter Biden naked, which apparently the MAGA Republicans get all worked up about, and I don't know, think that they want to make that a crime. They want to publish those photos everywhere. Here's the thing. United States Attorney David Weiss is an attorney, unlike Jim Jordan, who's not licensed to practice law, and unlike James Comer, who's not licensed to practice law. I guess at least Jim Jordan went to a law school. But in the world of David Weiss, evidence matters. So somebody like David Weiss will lose his bar license and will lose his ability to represent people at all in the future or stay United States Attorney if he just makes up fake whistleblowers. The only place you could make up fake whistleblowers and fake audio recordings and lie every single day, if this was any other job, you'd get fired. But in the MAGA Republican Party, just lie every single day. It doesn't matter at all. Make up a new whistleblower, talk about 17 fake recordings, and then use your fake allegations to justify your ultimate desire, which is to, utilize the government to try to imprison people like the authoritarians that you want to be. But in the world of David Weiss, you can't do that. So when David Weiss goes, okay, is this evidence? No, that's not evidence. That's an allegation. Who's making that allegation? Oh, a Russian oligarch is making, yeah. We're not going to trial based on hearsay within hearsay within hearsay originating from a Russian oligarch with links to Vladimir Putin. Yeah, that's not what we're doing. And I know that makes Jim Jordan and James Comer very upset. And this is James Comer's quote. Quote, I think the United States Attorney will be invited to testify to some committee, whether it be judiciary or weaponization or oversight. I mean, it's just such clownish behavior. It's a quote by James Comer. It's just such clownish and fascist behavior here. You have a Trump prosecutor, Republican. I mean, at the bottom line now, they say Bill Barr. They say Bill Barr, the former Attorney General Bill Barr, they say is a rhino. They call him a gutless pig, so they just go after everyone, MAGA Republicans, if you're not just currently involved in the Donald Trump cult. So that's what they said. But look, we've got receipts and we've got the letter that David Weiss, again, the Republican United States Attorney, sent back on June 7th to Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan should probably remember, oh, wait a minute, we're going to request that he appear. We already did that. We already got a letter back on June 7th, but this was the letter from David Weiss, who Trump appointed. Dear Chairman Jordan, your May 25th letter to Attorney General Garland was forwarded to me with a request that I respond on behalf of the department. While your letter does not specify by name the ongoing investigation that is the subject of the committee's oversight, its contents suggest your inquiry is related to an investigation in my district. If my assumption is correct, I want to make clear that as the Attorney General has stated, I have been granted ultimate authority over this matter, including responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges, and for making decisions necessary to preserve the integrity of the prosecution consistent with federal law, the principles of federal prosecution, and departmental regulations. Your letter references recently announced staffing determinations in the matter and the committee's concern that those decisions intersect with whistleblower protections. I agree wholeheartedly that whistleblowers play an integral role in promoting both civil servant accountability and good government practices. Federal law protects whistleblowers from retaliations as well it should. The information sought by the committee concerns an open matter about which the department is not at liberty to respond. As then Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein wrote in 2018 in response to a request for information information from the Honorable Charles Grassley, chairman of the Senate Committee on the Judiciary, congressional inquiries during the pendency of a matter pose an inherent threat to the integrity of the department's law enforcement and litigation functions. Such inquiries inescapably create the risk that the public and the courts will receive undue political and congressional influence over law enforcement and litigation decisions. Such inquiries also often seek records and other information that our responsibilities for these matters preclude us from disclosing. Accordingly, and consistent with the longstanding Department of Justice policy and practice, I must respectfully decline the committee's request for documents and information at this time to protect confidential law enforcement information from disclosure. And it goes on to basically say the same thing. And it's just saying, go away, Jim Jordan. But that's the difference right there between Jim Jordan, James Comer, fascist clowns, and somebody like David Weiss, who is a licensed attorney who has obligations under the federal rules of civil procedure to the court, to the bar, as an officer of the court. And while there's an independent investigation, as David Weiss states, at the end of the day, you got to focus on evidence. Evidence. By the way, if there was evidence of these FD 1023 form audio recordings, and the audio recordings existed, these whistleblowers existed, and they were actually providing evidence, and the evidence supported crimes that Hunter Biden committed. Go charge Hunter Biden. I don't care. I could frankly care less. Hunter Biden wasn't in our government. Hunter Biden wasn't doing what Jared Kushner did or what Ivanka Kushner did, who had actual positions in our government. When did Hunter Biden make a single decision that impacted any of our lives at all? Zero zip. He never did at all. And I don't care. If there is a Democrat who commits a crime, hold them accountable, but do it based on evidence, not based on defamatory innuendo. Like what Jim Jordan and James Comer did, if they just did it once, they lose their law license. But in the MAGA Republicans, that makes you the chair of the major committees. And David Weiss, fortunately, understands what his obligations are. The efforts that Biden and Merrick Garland went, in fact, above and beyond anything they had to do to avoid any appearance of impropriety, to the point where the Biden Justice Department criminally investigated Biden's own son and is now pursuing a criminal charge against President Biden's son. And they're saying that's the weaponization of the Justice Department. What are you talking about? I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch and wherever you get audio podcasts. Subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. Have a great day.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.